The Exile. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council, her stance defiant despite the overwhelming alien presence that surrounded her. The chamber, a vast amphitheater of shimmering crystalline structures, housed representatives from 100 different species. Their eyes, some multifaceted, others singular and huge, all focused on the lone human in their midst. High Counselor Zixera, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate metallic shell, spoke first. Its voice reverberated through the chamber, a cacophony of clicks and whistles translated by Sarah's neural implant. Human, your kind has petitioned for inclusion in the Galactic Federation for decades. We have denied you at every turn, citing your species' volatile nature and technological inferiority. Yet you persist. Sarah nodded, her dark eyes never wavering from the High Counselor's pulsating form. We persist because we believe in our potential, in what we can offer the galaxy. A ripple of derisive laughter echoed through the chamber. Counselor Vrex, a hulking insectoid, leaned forward on its multiple appendages. Offer? Your species has nothing to offer but conflict and destruction. Your history is stained with the blood of your own kind. We've grown, Sarah countered. We've united our world, solved our greatest crisis. We're ready for the stars. High Counselor Zixera's form flickered, a sign of what Sarah had learned to interpret as amusement. Very well, human. We shall give you one final chance to prove your worth. A test, if you will. Sarah's heartbeat quickened, but she kept her expression neutral. Name it. The High Counselor's next words sent a chill through her spine. Survive Nexus 9. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Even the most hardened alien diplomats seemed shocked by the proclamation. Sarah had heard whispers of Nexus 9, a planet so hostile that it had claimed the lives of every being sent to explore it. It was a death sentence, plain and simple. You can't be serious, a voice called out. It belonged to Ambassador Lyrax, one of the few council members who had shown any sympathy towards humanity. Nexus 9 is forbidden. No sentient being has ever returned from its surface. Zixera's form pulsed brightly. Precisely. If the human survives, it will prove that their species possesses qualities worthy of consideration. If not, the High Counselor left the implications hanging in the air. Sarah's mind raced. This was more than just a test of her own survival skills. The fate of humanity's galactic future rested on her shoulders. She straightened her back and met Zixera's gaze. I accept. The chamber erupted in a mixture of shocked exclamations and mocking laughter. Counselor Vrex chittered loudly. The human accepts its own demise. How amusing. But Sarah wasn't listening to them anymore. Her focus had narrowed to the task ahead. As she was led away to prepare for her mission, her thoughts turned to Earth, to the billions of souls counting on her success. Failure wasn't an option. The next few hours passed in a blur. Sarah was briefed on what little was known about Nexus 9. Its atmosphere was barely breathable, its terrain constantly shifting, and its indigenous life forms were universally hostile. She was given a basic survival kit, a standard-issue environment suit, and a small craft for planetfall. As she boarded the ship that would take her to the edge of known space, Sarah caught sight of her reflection in a polished bulkhead. Her angular features were set in determination, her black hair pulled back in a tight braid. She looked every inch the decorated Solar Fleet commander she was, but she felt a flutter of doubt in her stomach. Scared human. The mocking voice belonged to her alien escort, a being of living crystal named Crix. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Terrified. But fear has never stopped humanity before. Crix's crystalline form shimmered in what might have been surprise. You're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both, Sarah replied as she sealed her helmet. But that's humanity for you. The journey to Nexus 9 took 3 standard cycles. Sarah spent the time reviewing what scant information existed about the planet and preparing herself mentally for the challenges ahead. She knew the odds were stacked against her, but giving up wasn't in her nature. As her small craft entered Nexus 9's turbulent atmosphere, alarms blared from every console. The ship bucked and shuddered, threatening to tear itself apart. Sarah gritted her teeth and fought the controls, using every ounce of her piloting skills to keep the craft intact. Through the view screen, she caught glimpses of the planet's surface, a nightmarish landscape of jagged mountains, roiling seas of some caustic liquid, and plains that seemed to writhe with unseen life. Lightning forked across skies the color of bruises, and in the distance, something that might have been a mountain suddenly moved. With a bone-jarring impact, Sarah's craft slammed into the planet's surface. Emergency systems kicked in, spraying fire-suppressing foam and sealing breaches in the hull. For a moment, Sarah just sat there, her ears ringing, her body aching from the impact. Then, slowly, she unstrapped herself and moved to the airlock. The ship's sensors were going haywire, unable to get an accurate reading on the environment outside. Sarah knew she had no choice but to step out and face whatever Nexus 9 had in store for her. As the airlock cycled open, a gust of alien air rushed in. Her suit's filters worked overtime, and a dozen warning lights flashed on her HUD. The atmosphere was toxic, corrosive, and filled with particulates that her systems couldn't even identify. Sarah took her first step onto the surface of Nexus 9, the ground squelching beneath her boots. In the distance, she heard a roar that shook her to her very core. Something was out there, something big. She allowed herself one moment of doubt, one fleeting thought of the impossibility of her task. Then, with a deep breath, Commander Sarah Chen set her jaw and took another step forward. Humanity's future depended on her survival, and she'd be damned if she'd let an entire planet stop her. As night fell on Nexus 9, a darkness so complete it seemed to swallow light itself, Sarah began the grim task of survival on a world that wanted her dead. The test had begun, and the galaxy watched with bated breath to see if humanity's representative would rise to the challenge or fall like all those who had come before. Survival and discovery. The first week on Nexus 9 was a brutal test of Sarah's will and ingenuity. Every moment was a struggle for survival against a planet that seemed determined to eliminate her. The air itself was a constant threat, filled with corrosive particles that slowly ate away at her suit's protective layers. Sarah quickly learned to take shelter during the planet's frequent acid rainstorms, which hissed and bubbled as they hit the ground. Food and water were her most pressing concerns. Her survival kit contained enough nutrient packs for a month, but Sarah knew she'd need to find sustainable sources if she hoped to survive long-term. She set up a condensation collector to gather what passed for water on this world, carefully filtering it through her suit's purification systems before drinking. On the third day, Sarah encountered her first Nexen life form. She was scouting the area around her makeshift camp when she heard a low, rumbling growl. Turning slowly, she found herself face to face with a creature that defied description. It was massive, easily 3 times her size, with a body covered in overlapping plates that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Multiple eyes, each glowing with an eerie bioluminescence, regarded her with clear predatory intent. Sarah's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but she hesitated. Something in those alien eyes gave her pause. There was intelligence there, curiosity mingled with the hunger. Instead of firing, Sarah slowly reached into her pack and pulled out one of her nutrient bars. She unwrapped it and tossed it towards the creature. The beast sniffed at the offering, its head tilting in a surprisingly bird-like manner. Then, with lightning speed, a long barbed tongue shot out and snatched the bar. The creature made a sound that might have been satisfaction, then turned and lumbered away, leaving Sarah breathless but alive. This encounter marked a turning point in Sarah's approach to Nexus 9. She began to see the planet not just as an enemy to be conquered, but as a complex ecosystem to be understood. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges. She learned to recognize the signs of approaching storms, to distinguish between the carnivorous plants that would try to ensnare her and the rare, nutritious fungi that could supplement her dwindling food supplies. As weeks turned into months, Sarah's body adapted to the harsh conditions. Her muscles grew denser to cope with the planet's higher gravity, and her reflexes sharpened, honed by the constant need to be alert for danger. She began to map the area around her camp, noting safe zones and danger areas, always pushing a little further into the unknown. It was during one of these expeditions, nearly 6 months into her stay on Nexus 9, that Sarah made a discovery that would change everything. She had ventured farther than ever before, into a region of twisting canyons and bizarre, crystal-like formations that hummed with an energy she couldn't explain. As she navigated a particularly treacherous pass, the ground beneath her feet suddenly gave way. With a bone-jarring impact, Sarah's craft slammed into the planet's surface. Emergency systems kicked in, spraying fire-suppressing foam and sealing breaches in the hull. For a moment, Sarah just sat there, her ears ringing, her body aching from the impact. Then, slowly, she unstrapped herself and moved to the airlock. The ship's sensors were going haywire, unable to get an accurate reading on the environment outside. Sarah knew she had no choice but to step out and face whatever Nexus 9 had in store for her. As the airlock cycled open, a gust of alien air rushed in. Her suit's filters worked overtime, and a dozen warning lights flashed on her HUD. The atmosphere was toxic, corrosive, and filled with particulates that her systems couldn't even identify. Sarah took her first step onto the surface of Nexus 9, the ground squelching beneath her boots. In the distance, she heard a roar that shook her to her very core. Something was out there, something big. She allowed herself one moment of doubt, one fleeting thought of the impossibility of her task. Then, with a deep breath, Commander Sarah Chen set her jaw and took another step forward. Humanity's future depended on her survival, and she'd be damned if she'd let an entire planet stop her. As night fell on Nexus 9, a darkness so complete it seemed to swallow light itself, Sarah began the grim task of survival on a world that wanted her dead. The test had begun, and the galaxy watched with bated breath to see if humanity's representative would rise to the challenge or fall like all those who had come before. Survival and discovery. The first week on Nexus 9 was a brutal test of Sarah's will and ingenuity. Every moment was a struggle for survival against a planet that seemed determined to eliminate her. The air itself was a constant threat, filled with corrosive particles that slowly ate away at her suit's protective layers. Sarah quickly learned to take shelter during the planet's frequent acid rainstorms, which hissed and bubbled as they hit the ground. Food and water were her most pressing concerns. Her survival kit contained enough nutrient packs for a month, but Sarah knew she'd need to find sustainable sources if she hoped to survive long-term. She set up a condensation collector to gather what passed for water on this world, carefully filtering it through her suit's purification systems before drinking. On the third day, Sarah encountered her first Nexan life form. She was scouting the area around her makeshift camp when she heard a low rumbling growl. Turning slowly, she found herself face to face with a creature that defied description. It was massive, easily 3 times her size, with a body covered in overlapping plates that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Multiple eyes, each glowing with an eerie bioluminescence, regarded her with clear predatory intent. Sarah's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but she hesitated. Something in those alien eyes gave her pause. There was intelligence there, curiosity mingled with the hunger. Instead of firing, Sarah slowly reached into her pack and pulled out one of her nutrient bars. She unwrapped it and tossed it towards the creature. The beast sniffed at the offering, its head tilting in a surprisingly bird-like manner. Then, with lightning speed, a long barbed tongue shot out and snatched the bar. The creature made a sound that might have been satisfaction, then turned and lumbered away, leaving Sarah breathless but alive. This encounter marked a turning point in Sarah's approach to Nexus 9. She began to see the planet not just as an enemy to be conquered, but as a complex ecosystem to be understood. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges. She learned to recognize the signs of approaching storms, to distinguish between the carnivorous plants that would try to ensnare her and the rare, nutritious fungi that could supplement her dwindling food supplies. As weeks turned into months, Sarah's body adapted to the harsh conditions. Her muscles grew denser to cope with the planet's higher gravity, and her reflexes sharpened, honed by the constant need to be alert for danger. She began to map the area around her camp, noting safe zones and danger areas, always pushing a little further into the unknown. It was during one of these expeditions, nearly 6 months into her stay on Nexus 9, that Sarah made a discovery that would change everything. She had ventured farther than ever before, into a region of twisting canyons and bizarre, crystal-like formations that hummed with an energy she couldn't explain. As she navigated a particularly treacherous pass, the ground beneath her feet suddenly gave way. Sarah tumbled down a steep incline, her suit's emergency systems barely managing to cushion her fall. When she finally came to a stop, she found herself in a vast underground cavern. And she wasn't alone. Before her stood a creature unlike any she had encountered on the surface. It was tall and slender, with a body that seemed to be composed of living light. As Sarah watched, awestruck, the being's form shifted and changed, sometimes solid, sometimes as insubstantial as mist. "You are not of this world," a voice echoed in Sarah's mind. It wasn't sound, but pure thought, bypassing her ears and translator to speak directly to her consciousness. Sarah stood, wincing at her bruises. "No," she replied aloud, unsure if the being could understand her. "I'm human, from a planet called Earth." The creature's form pulsed with what might have been curiosity. "Human. Earth. These are new concepts to us. We are the Nexari. We have watched you since your arrival." Sarah's mind reeled. An intelligent species, here on Nexus 9. How had the Galactic Council missed this? "You've been watching me. Why didn't you make contact?" "We observe. We learn. It is our way," the Nexari replied. "Your kind is new to us. Fragile, yet persistent. You have survived where others perished. This interests us." Sarah took a cautious step forward. "I'm here as a test. My species seeks to join the galactic community, but we must prove our worth." The Nexari's form rippled, and Sarah had the distinct impression it was laughing. Worth is not measured by survival alone. It is measured by understanding, by harmony with one's environment. The beam gestured, and suddenly the cavern was filled with holographic images of Sarah's time on Nexus 9. She saw herself learning, adapting, showing mercy to the predator that could have killed her. "You have begun to understand," the Nexari continued. "This is why we have chosen to reveal ourselves. We can help you, human Sarah. And perhaps you can help us." Sarah's heart raced with excitement and apprehension. "Help you? How?" The Nexari's form coalesced into something almost humanoid. "We are the guardians of this world, but we are bound to it. We cannot leave to make our presence known to the galaxy. You could be our voice. In exchange for your help in surviving here," Sarah concluded, beginning to understand. "Yes, we will teach you the true nature of Nexus 9, how to thrive here. In return, you will carry our message to the stars. A symbiosis, much like the one that exists between all life on this world." Sarah considered the offer. It was more than just a chance at survival. It was an opportunity to gain knowledge that could revolutionize humanity's understanding of alien life. And it might just be the key to proving humanity's worth to the Galactic Council. "I accept," Sarah said, her voice firm with newfound determination. The Nexari's form brightened. "Then let your true education begin, human Sarah. Welcome to the heart of Nexus 9. As Sarah followed the Nexari deeper into the cavern, she felt a profound shift in her mission. She had come to this world expecting to find only hostility and death. Instead, she had found new allies and a chance to bridge the gap between worlds. The real challenge, she realized, was just beginning. The lessons that followed would push Sarah to the limits of her endurance and understanding. But with each passing day, she grew stronger, wiser, and more in tune with the complex web of life that was Nexus 9. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she began to formulate a plan that would shock the Galactic Council and change the course of human history forever. Mastering the beasts. As months turned into a year, Sarah's understanding of Nexus 9 grew exponentially under the Nexaries' tutelage. The beings of living light taught her secrets of the planet that no outside observer could have hoped to discover. Sarah learned that what appeared to be a hostile, chaotic world was in fact a carefully balanced ecosystem, each seemingly deadly aspect playing a crucial role in maintaining the planet's equilibrium. The Nexaries showed Sarah how to communicate with the planet's diverse life forms, not through words, but through a complex system of bioelectric signals. It was a language of energy, intention, and emotion, far removed from anything taught in Earth's xenobiology classes. Sarah's first successful communication came with the very creature she had encountered in her early days on the planet, the massive, color-shifting predator she had come to call Shimmer. Under the Nexaries' guidance, Sarah learned to project calming energies, to broadcast her intentions of peace and cooperation. The day Shimmer approached her without hostility, responding to her bioelectric signals with curiosity rather than aggression, was a turning point. Sarah reached out, her hand trembling slightly, and placed it on Shimmer's shifting hide. The connection that formed was unlike anything she had ever experienced, a flood of sensations, instincts, and alien thoughts. "You have formed a bond," the Nexaries observed, its light form pulsing with approval. "This is rare, even among our kind. You have a gift, Sarah of Earth." From that moment on, Sarah's integration into Nexus 9's ecosystem accelerated rapidly. She learned to ride atop Shimmer, navigating the planet's treacherous terrain with a speed and surety she could never have managed on her own. Other creatures, drawn by the unique energy signature of her human-Nexan hybrid communication, began to approach her with curiosity rather than hostility. Sarah formed bonds with flying creatures she named Whispers, ethereal beings that could soar through Nexus 9's corrosive atmosphere unharmed. Through them, she gained a bird's-eye view of the planet, mapping vast regions that had been impossible to explore on foot. She befriended burrowing creatures she called Delthers, which helped her navigate the planet's extensive underground network of caverns and tunnels. But it was her connection with the apex predators of Nexus 9 that truly set Sarah apart. These beings, which she named Titans, were monstrously large creatures that seemed to be part animal, part living mountain. They were ancient, intelligent, and fiercely territorial. The Nexaries themselves treated these beings with cautious respect. It took months of patient work, of learning to project just the right combination of strength, respect, and kinship before the first Titan accepted Sarah's presence. The ground shook as the massive being lowered its head, allowing Sarah to place her hand on its craggy skin. The rush of connection nearly overwhelmed her. She felt the pulse of the planet itself, the deep, slow thoughts of a creature that measured its lifespan in centuries. "You have done what none of us thought possible," the Nexaries told her, their light forms flickering with what Sarah had come to recognize as awe. "You have united the disparate life of Nexus 9 in a way we have never seen." Sarah stood atop a cliff, surveying the alien landscape that had become her home. Shimmer lounged nearby, its colors rippling contentedly. A group of Whispers circled overhead, while she could sense the presence of Delthers beneath her feet. In the distance, the massive form of a Titan moved ponderously across the horizon. "I think I'm ready," Sarah said, turning to her Nexaries teachers. "Ready to show the Galactic Council what humanity is truly capable of." The Nexaries' form pulsed in agreement. "You have learned our ways, carried our message in your very being. But are you prepared for the challenge that lies ahead? The Council will not easily accept the change you represent." Sarah's eyes flashed with determination. "They sent me here to die, to prove that humanity wasn't worthy. Instead, I'll show them that we're capable of more than they ever imagined. We don't just survive. We adapt, we learn, we connect. That's the true strength of humanity." Over the next few weeks, Sarah worked with the Nexari to prepare for her return. They helped her modify her battered spacecraft, integrating Nexan biotechnology to allow it to withstand the journey. More importantly, they taught her how to maintain her connection to Nexus 9's lifeforms even across the void of space. The day of departure arrived all too soon. Sarah stood before the assembled Nexari. Her loyal Nexan companions gathered around her. She had long since discarded her environment suit, her body having adapted to Nexus 9's atmosphere. Her skin shimmed faintly with the bioelectric aura she had learned to project, and her eyes held a depth of knowledge and experience that would have been unrecognizable to the woman who had landed on this planet 2 years ago. Remember, the eldest of the Nexari Council, you carry not just your own hopes, but the future of Nexus 9. Our world has long been feared and misunderstood. Through you, we hope to open a new chapter of understanding with the galaxy at large. Sarah nodded solemnly. I won't let you down, nor will I let down humanity. It's time the galaxy understood what we're truly capable of. With a final look at the world that had tried to kill her and ended up embracing her, Sarah boarded her ship, but she wasn't leaving alone. Shimmer curled up in a specially designed compartment, while several whispers made themselves comfortable in a habitat sphere. Even a juvenile titan, no larger than an earth elephant, had volunteered to accompany her, sealed in a massive stasis chamber. The chamber was silent, every being present hanging on her words. Sarah continued, her voice gaining strength. The Nexari, the true masters of Nexus 9, have lived in isolation for eons, misunderstood and feared by the galaxy. Through me, they extend an offer of friendship, of shared knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of biology, ecology, and interspecies communication. Counselor Vrex found its voice. This is unprecedented. How can we trust that these creatures, that you, do not pose a threat to the Federation? Sarah smiled, a gesture that somehow conveyed both warmth and a hint of challenge. Because, Counselor, if we meant you harm, you would already be experiencing it. Instead, we're here to talk, to connect, to understand each other. She turned, locking eyes with Zixara. High Counselor, you asked for proof of humanity's worth. I offer you this. In 2 years, I have done what your Federation couldn't in centuries. I've unlocked the secrets of a world you feared, made allies of beings you couldn't comprehend, and brought back knowledge that could transform our understanding of life itself. Sarah's voice took on a tone of steel. Humanity is ready for the stars. We're ready to join your Federation, not as supplicants, but as equals. And we bring with us the friendship of Nexus 9. The question now is, are you ready for us? The council chamber erupted into a chaos of voices, some arguing, some expressing wonder, others demanding more information. Through it all, Sarah stood calmly at the center, her Nexan companions a silent, imposing presence around her. As the initial shock began to subside, Zixara raised a tendril for silence. Its energy form had stabilized, pulsing now with what seemed to be a mix of caution and curiosity. You have given us much to consider, Sarah Chen of Earth and Nexus 9. This council will need time to deliberate on your words and the implications of your return. Sarah nodded. Of course, High Counselor. But know this, the galaxy is changing. The old boundaries, the old fears, they no longer apply. Humanity is ready to help forge a new era of interspecies cooperation. The only question is whether the Galactic Federation is ready to embrace that future. As Sarah and her companions were escorted to guest quarters, the council chamber remained abuzz with excited and fearful conversations. No one could deny that everything had changed. Humanity had not just survived their test, they had shattered every preconception the galaxy had about them. The deliberations that followed would last for days, but their outcome was almost a foregone conclusion. Sarah Chen had not just opened the door for humanity's entry into the Galactic Federation, she had kicked it down and reshaped the very foundations of interstellar relations. A new age was dawning, and at its forefront stood humanity, adaptable, resilient, and now proven beyond doubt to be a force that could no longer be ignored, changing the galaxy. The days following Sarah's dramatic return were a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, scientific exchanges, and cultural introductions. The Galactic Federation found itself scrambling to adapt to a reality that had seemed impossible just a week before. Sarah, along with her Nexan companions, became the center of attention. Scientists from 100 worlds clamored for the chance to study the creatures from Nexus 9, while diplomats worked tirelessly to establish protocols for communicating with the newly discovered Nexari. But it was humanity that truly took the galactic stage by storm. As news of Sarah's accomplishments spread, the perception of humans throughout the galaxy underwent a seismic shift. No longer were they seen as a primitive, volatile species barely worth notice. Instead, they were now viewed as adaptable, innovative problem solvers with a unique talent for bridging interspecies gaps. Earth's governments, caught off guard by Sarah's success, rallied quickly. They assembled a diverse team of diplomats, scientists, and cultural experts to support Sarah in her negotiations with the Galactic Federation. Among them was Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Earth's leading xenobiologist, whose eyes lit up with excitement every time she saw Shimmer shift colors. "The implications of your discoveries are staggering," Dr. Tanaka told Sarah during a rare quiet moment. "The bioelectric communication methods you learned, they could revolutionize our approach to interspecies relations across the galaxy." Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "That's just the beginning, Yuki. The Nexari have knowledge that spans millennia. Their understanding of planetary ecosystems, of the interconnectedness of all life, it's going to change everything." As the Galactic Council deliberated, Sarah worked tirelessly to demonstrate the potential benefits of human inclusion in the Federation. She organized joint research projects between human scientists and experts from other species, showcasing humanity's quick learning and innovative problem-solving. One particularly striking moment came during a presentation on interspecies medical techniques. Sarah, working in tandem with a whisper, demonstrated how the creature's natural healing abilities could be channeled to accelerate recovery from injuries. The assembled alien doctors watched in awe as a deep cut on a volunteer's arm closed in minutes under the whisper's ethereal touch. "This is but one example," Sarah explained to the rapt audience. "Imagine the possibilities if we combine the unique biological traits of multiple species with our technological advancements. We could cure diseases thought incurable, extend lifespans, perhaps even regenerate lost limbs." The juvenile Titan, whom Sarah had named Mountain, became an unlikely diplomat in its own right. Its presence, initially terrifying to many on the station, soon became a source of fascination. Alien children would gather to watch and wonder as Sarah communicated with the massive being, directing it to create intricate patterns and provided sand pits with its stone-like appendages. "Mountain is young by Titan standards," Sarah explained to a group of xenoanthropologists. "They lived for thousands of years, accumulating knowledge and reshaping the very landscape of Nexus 9. Imagine the geological and astronomical insights we could gain from beings who watch mountains rise and fall within their lifetime." As the days turned into weeks, the mood on the station shifted. Initial fear gave way to curiosity, then to excitement about the possibilities this new paradigm presented. Species that had long been at odds found common ground in their fascination with the Nexan life forms, and the human who could communicate with them. Finally, after 3 weeks of intense deliberation, High Counselor Zixera called for an assembly of all diplomatic personnel on the station. The council chamber, already large, had been expanded to accommodate the unprecedented gathering. Sarah stood at the center, her Nexan companions around her, with the Earth delegation to her right. The air thrummed with anticipation as Zixera's energy form coalesced into its most formal configuration. "Representatives of the galaxy," Zixera began, its voice resonating through the chamber. "We have witnessed something unprecedented in the history of the Galactic Federation. We sent a human to what we believed was certain death. Instead, she returned having unlocked secrets we thought forever beyond our reach. The High Counselor's form pulsed with what Sarah had learned to recognize as deep emotion. Sarah Chen of Earth has demonstrated qualities we did not believe possible in such a young species: adaptability, empathy, the ability to forge connections across boundaries we thought insurmountable. Zixera paused, its next words heavy with significance. It is the decision of this council that humanity has more than proven its worth. We hereby extend an invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Federation, not as a probationary member, but as a full partner. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of cheers, whistles, and other alien sounds of approval. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes as she turned to embrace Dr. Tanaka and the other Earth representatives. But Zixera wasn't finished. Furthermore, we recognize the sovereign status of Nexus 9 and the Nexari. We extend an invitation for them to join our federation as well, with Sarah Chen to serve as their ambassador until such time as they choose to represent themselves directly. The implications of this announcement were staggering. In one move, the Galactic Federation had expanded to include not just a new species, but an entire world that had previously been considered off-limits. As the celebrations began in earnest, Sarah found a quiet moment to connect with her Nexan companions. She felt their joy, their excitement for the future, and their deep gratitude for the role she had played in bringing their world into the galactic community. Looking out at the diverse gathering of species, all celebrating together, Sarah felt a profound sense of hope. The galaxy was entering a new era, one of unprecedented cooperation and understanding. And humanity, against all odds, was helping to lead the way. The path ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and obstacles to overcome. But as Sarah watched a group of alien children cautiously approaching mountain, their fear giving way to wonder as the Titan gently lowered its massive head to their level, she knew that the future was bright. Humanity had been tested. They had adapted, survived, and emerged stronger. Now, standing at the dawn of a new galactic age, they were ready to take their place among the stars. As the festivities continued around her, Sarah Chen, human, explorer and bridge between worlds, smiled. The real adventure, she knew, was just beginning.